Hello and welcome everybody to this week's chat with Liam. Liam from Highland Paranormal, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Jacqueline, thanks.
Oh, so great to finally speak to you because you've been out and about and been so busy, haven't you?
Yeah, we've been pretty busy. It's great to catch up with you finally after following you for so long.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, but you've just been abroad and you've been out and about. Some great photos and yeah.
Yeah, I was over in France for a couple of weeks, and yeah, we've been trying to get out and about. With the weather finally improving here in Scotland, we can finally get outdoors again.
And here as well because, you always get it bad. Put it that way. You do when I go anyway. It's always terrible when I go to Scotland. Well, admittedly, it was better last year, but yeah.
Right.
But yeah, generally, it's not so good when I go to Scotland, but the place is so beautiful.
Yeah, we're really lucky. I always kind of pinch myself and say, how lucky are we?
Well, that's it. You kind of born somewhere, and then I've kind of stayed where I was like born around Nottingham, and you kind of think like it's a bit urban for me. The scenery in Scotland, and you're like Inverness way, aren't you? And
Yeah,
it's just fascinating. It's just stunning. And I do try and do a 2-week holiday now there when I can. Maybe this year. I had a bit of a dodgy vet bill, but he's recovering luckily. So
not good.
hopefully I can. But yeah, hopefully I can come up again. Look, we've just been talking about this guy. Hey, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
How
Years
you
will have been
doing?
burning.
It was all good though, Mark. Honest. I was reading your book at the weekend as well. Awesome book. Fantastic. So yeah, it was nice and sunny. I sat outside in a deck chair, bit of sun, and that was it. Got the book out. Yeah, beautiful. And I like the description. Language, Mark.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the way you write. It's fantastic, easy reading. So definitely recommend the books by
Great
Mark
books.
Warbank, available on Amazon. Hi Stefan, hope you're well.
Hi, Stefan again. I was actually out with Stefan last week.
Oh wow.
So Stefan used to run a team over here in Scotland before he went back to Germany, but he was over with some friends. So we popped out last week and did a little mini investigation, which was really interesting. It was great to catch up with him.
Oh, fantastic. Where did you go?
We went to Clavacairns, which is
Oh,
not far from Inverness, but it's a Neolithic, basically burial site. So it's about 4,000 years old.
wow.
It is a pretty magical place. It's become a little famous as a result of Outlander.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's got
Yes.
it's got standing stones. It's close to Inverness, so it's
Okay.
become a bit of a mecca for Outlander fans to come. Unfortunately, to a certain extent, trample all over the site and touch the stones to try and go back in time. But yeah, fascinating site. Also, a really interesting story about a Belgian tourist who decided to steal a stone from the site,
Oh,
returned home and had nothing but bad luck, fell ill, lost his job. Eventually, he posted the stone back. And I know he's not the only one to do that. So it's,
oh
yeah,
my gosh.
interesting site.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
interesting if that's happening, and they deserve it. You don't touch things like that. They're sacred, and that's it, isn't it?
yeah, that's it.
Fair enough. You can go. You just got to be respectful to property, and that's it.
Yeah, 100%.
But you do. Oh, there you go. Maybe I'll visit it this time. So hopefully I'm going up in September. I hope so. It
No,
has.
we'll get you there. We'll get you there. If you're coming up in September, we will get you to
Oh
Clavacairns.
wow. Yeah, I've just got a bit of a dog, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine. But yeah, so I do want to sort of see more of Scotland. The thing is, I've sort of got myself a route, and that's it. Like it's a bit of travelling.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's kind of the problem with Scotland to a certain extent. Though it's small, there's so much to see. It's
definitely.
really difficult to discover everything. For instance, some of our team live through in Aberdeenshire, and Aberdeen
Okay.
seems to always be missed out on the tourist circuit. Yeah, it's full of castles. There's
Wow.
loads of castles in Aberdeenshire, so people can miss all that out. Because they're obviously Edinburgh up to Skye
That's it, yeah.
are the two kind of main areas that folk try to go. And obviously you've got Glencoe, which is stunning.
I go, yeah, I
Yeah,
have to stay at the Red Squirrel campsite at Glencoe.
yeah, yeah,
It's absolutely stunning, and, I just have to go there. And I
yeah,
was a bit gutted because last year I went and the Northern Lights were performing on Red, and I got a great big mountain right next door and I couldn't see it. I was like, "Oh my gosh," like, "this is a dark sky, there's no light anywhere, and then this damn mountain was in the way. How rude was that?" But yeah,
yeah.
I was quite upset that night because I thought, "No, they're happening and I can't see it."
Yeah, we normally just get cloud anytime there's anything meteor shower, northern lights, whatever, cloud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Like I said earlier, like whenever I've been to Scotland, generally it rains or it's cold. I did actually get married in Scotland, and that was beautiful. It's October time, and
Mhm.
it was sunny and lovely, And for me, most of my trips, it does get a bit wet and foggy and horrible, and especially if I go to Skye.
Yeah, the west coast is anything west is notorious, unfortunately, for
Ah,
the weather
okay.
is wet. The weather is always a lot wetter in the west coast.
Yeah, so I stayed on
Yeah,
Skye a couple of times, and it's absolutely stunning. But yeah.
yeah. You only get two kinds of weather on the west coast: awful or stunningly beautiful. You don't get anything in the middle. It's either pouring rain or it's blue skies, sun shining.
Wow, yeah,
Yeah.
I need the blue sky sunshine. Yeah, I definitely do. We did at the beginning, we did mention doors. Now this is on the Loch Ness, and I absolutely love that. You can go swimming in the Loch Ness just off a beach, and it's gorgeous. But you sort of know about a Loch Ness monster, don't you? Because you do a ghost walk. You did mention, and
Yeah, or you were saying beforehand. So a lot of people think that the origins of Loch Ness monster's first sightings were around the 1930s when the road opened on the sort of north side of the loch. But actually, Nessie was first spotted in 565 AD
wow,
in the River Ness, which flows into Loch Ness. So Saint Columba was there. He was converting the Picts to Christianity. So above Inverness, there's a hill called Craigfatrick, and you can still see a shape where a Pictish fort was.
wow,
So again, really going back in time. But basically, one of St. Columba's followers was having a swim in the river when up popped a sea serpent. But St. Columba quickly intervened and banished the monster to Loch Ness. And
wow.
that's the first documented sighting of the Loch Ness monster.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I do love it. I do love the mystery about it. Because, if you go, you just have to look, don't you? You
Yeah,
know,
well, it's a strange lot. It's a strange place. It
yeah, it
really is. I
is.
mean, due to it being so narrow, the waves appear from nowhere. It doesn't freeze even when the water goes below zero. It, you know, it, I was telling a few folk that the last when I went to Doors, we took a guy, Rick McCallum, to Doors, and we were standing there. He'd walked to see Loch Ness, and the next thing we're seeing three humps in the water.
Wow.
I'm going there. Can it be? Can it be? And I'm going
Oh,
to watch
wow.
this. They're appearing there, and it always in the same area, popping back up. Then suddenly these humps started to come closer and closer until three sort of large gentlemen wearing diving gear came out of the loch. And it's the first time I've seen divers in the loch.
Wow.
But yeah, it was actually three divers that were in the
I
loch.
bet you're holding your breath, though. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
wow, You don't expect to see it, but wow, if you do see something, it's like, wow, yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
awesome.
Unfortunately, it's a bit like ghosts when you see these photographs that appear in the press. You're just going, nah. Yeah. It's the same with Nessie. The last one, I think, the last one was just ridiculous. The photo that was
Oh
published.
gosh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think anybody's really captured anything. Hi, Eileen.
Yeah, Eileen's staying up late tonight to watch
Yeah,
this. Yeah, because I met Eileen last year when I sort of came up to Scotland again and went to some beautiful places. But
yeah.
so
We had
many.
Eileen on last week.
Oh wow, yeah,
Yeah.
because just so many fascinating places, though, aren't there?
Yeah, we're lucky, as I said. I mean, even just on our doorstep, we've got Loch Ness, we've got Culloden Battlefield, we've got Clava Cairns, we've got castles, we've got graveyards, old ruins, and the stories, the folklore. Even the main cemetery in Inverness is known as Fairy Hill,
Okay.
because there's stories connecting it to the fairies and sleeping armies and giants and all sorts of things. They believe that the fairy queen at one point had a fairy hall in this hill, and there's various stories that are told around that. The Bran seer, who was a bit like he had second sight, and a lot of his predictions have come true. And he actually said about Tom Nahura Hill, one day it will be under lock and key. And in mid 1800s, they put a fence and a gate round it and turned it into a cemetery. He also said that tall ships would sail to the west of Tom Nahura Hill, and the Caledonian Canal goes just past on the west side of the hill now. So
Incredible. Yeah.
yeah.
It,
So it's just
yeah,
fascinating.
yeah, it is. And Inverness itself is stunning. I've been there before, and you drive through that way, sort of heading up. Went to Culloden. It Culloden sort of blows your mind. The fact that the two lines were so close, weren't they? And
Yeah,
it's scary, and to think that all the bodies are still there.
yeah.
It's it's God, yeah,
It's a very sacred site,
definitely.
for us Highlanders anyway.
Of course it is.
Hi Nicola. Because it was the end of the Highland way of life. What followed was, for want of a better term, it was genocide. What followed in the Highlands after Culloden. So Culloden is, as I said, it's a very sacred site to a lot of people. It's got a very eerie feel to it, but I do wonder if that's just a lot of that's down to what happened there. That, as you said, there's a lot of bodies there.
Yeah, that's right.
Um,
They're
you know,
just not far away from you, are they? And
no, no.
just the thought, yeah, it's just too massive to think about, isn't it? But the fact that the two lines, they've got the flags up where the two lines are, and also I felt bad being English there, to be fair.
Well, do you know what? It's a misconception, and I always tell people off for this. Culloden was not Scotland versus England. It
No,
was the British government against the Stuart monarchy. So
yeah,
basically, the Hanoverian King George against the Royal Stuarts. And I've seen quotes saying there was more Scots in the government ranks than was even in the Jacobite ranks.
wow.
So there is a misconception of it being Scotland versus England. It was never Scotland versus England.
But if
Um,
you go there, they've got all the sort of stones going, clan, 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 clan.
yeah,
The English are over there.
the stones. You have to realise though that the stones were actually only erected in the 1800s. So
Right, okay.
it's when the Victorian appeal of the Highlands took off that these stones were, put in place. What I'm interested about was the fact that growing up, I was always told that basically there's nothing there. They're just the stones. They couldn't possibly know where, the pits were, because it's over 100 years past since, since the battle. However, about 5 or 6 years ago, they did geophysics across these,
Oh
and
wow.
there are pits. They will not allow them to be opened up. National
No.
Trust are refusing for them to be. But I would suspect there's pits all over the battlefield and beyond. And even what you see today isn't the whole battlefield. So the
Oh God,
battlefield
no.
goes into the woods as well on the other side of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a stone near there as well. So just after it, so you just pull out, turn right, and then there's a stone.
Yes, that's Cumberland Stone. So that's where
Yeah.
our the Duke of Cumberland stood um, during the battle. There's actually also another very similar stone within the Culloden Woods itself, and that's called the Prisoner's Stone, and that's where 17 Jacobite officers were executed
Oh, wow.
um,
Okay.
after the battle. Well, I say 17. I think actually 16 were executed. One actually escaped. He was severely disfigured, but he escaped. I was. So yeah, and you've also got a Clootie Well in Culloden Woods as well. So
Wow.
that's another thing that's going really back into the mists of time, and the kind of tradition of healing and leaving cloots, as it were, or bits of cloth, dip them in the water and tie them to the tree.
Wow. Yeah, it's worth a visit, and that was my like furthest north point last time on the trip.
Mm-hmm.
So that I went up there, so that was like a midpoint of my trip, and yeah, it is a place you definitely need to go if you can, just to see it, and yeah, you just can't get your head around it, can you? Really, it's horrible.
No,
Uh,
it is.
yeah.
It's it is. It's, as I said, I suppose that's kind of where my whole fascination with history started, was Culloden, and actually watching, believe it or not, and this is not very Scottish to a certain extent, Michael Caine in the Robert Louis Stevenson film Kidnapped, from the book Robert Louis
Oh, I
Stevenson.
love that film.
And I've got the film. I still watch the film regularly. I love the film, and that's where my fascination with the Jacobites in Culloden as a kid started. At Saturday morning TV, watching
Oh,
this and being really affected by it. Obviously now I know a lot of it's work of fiction, but
yeah,
that's kind of where my kind of interest in everything kind of started. But again, you can't grow up in the Highlands without being touched by the folklore, the ghost stories, and the history.
yeah. It is so stunning, and it's amazing. You've kept the stories going.
Yeah, we're trying. I mean, it is a challenge. The Highlands has kind of changed a lot in the last probably 20-25 years. And a lot of folk have come into the Highlands. A lot of people are not maybe staying as they used to in the area. So the young folk will move away, they'll go to university and get jobs elsewhere, and things like that.
Yeah,
So the oral tradition of handing down stories is probably a bit in places broken. But what we try to do is, if we discover these stories in books, we'll put them onto our Facebook page, and we try to tell the stories to keep the stories alive.
yeah,
Yeah, so because I think it's really, really important, and we're discovering new stuff all the time. People gift me old ghost story books and things like that, which
yeah.
there's some real gems in there that I wasn't aware of about the local area, and stories that maybe happened 100, 200 years ago.
That's absolutely wonderful. It really is, because you don't really hear much of ghost stories where I am. There are one or two. There's usually a grey lady somewhere. But apart from that, you don't hear a lot, do you? Sort
No,
of in
well,
a place where you've got sort of a city close by, and there's the odd story. But
yeah, it's funny because actually, when I do my ghost walk, I actually start by saying, right, I'm going to tell you now. Actually, if you look online, you won't find many ghost stories about Inverness.
no,
And you don't. There's only maybe 4 or 5 that are kind of documented. But there's a lot more. There's a lot more in the press. There's stuff that we've obviously discovered or people have come up and told us over the years as well. So we add all that into the mix, along with, witchcraft, sighting of the
That's it.
devil, and all sorts.
Yeah, but I think you've got the mystique. It's just, yeah, it's like romanticism, isn't it? The hills, the mountains, stunning views and everything, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's just fascinating place. Apart from the
yeah,
weather and the midges, but hey. And the storytelling as well. It's hard to tell good stories, and to make them come alive.
yeah. It's I mean, the thing is, these stories are wonderful. It does make it so much easier. I'd
Well,
love to know which pub Wes is going on about. I do know of spooks in a few pubs in Inverness, but there's plenty
yeah.
of spirits in pubs in Inverness, I can tell you that.
Oh, I bet, and I get drunk as well. But yeah, I think I do need to spend time around Inverness, but when I've got my hound with me, it does make it rather more difficult. Yeah, but I like when we're on about Loch Ness, and just the whole area. It's just, you're just driving along a road and you just keep getting a different view, don't you? And you've got your mountains, you've got your lochs and everything else, and absolutely
Yeah,
stunning.
yeah. It's. I mean, as I said, I touched on earlier. I mean, 10-15 minute drive. We can be at Loch Ness. We can be at Culloden or Clava. I mean,
Yeah,
we are just so lucky. And then you've got the Black Isle, which is shrouded in mystery as well. And there's some great old places in the Black Isle. And the story of why the Black Isle's called the Black Isle. Even there's various. One, it was full of witches. One, it was burnt by the Vikings. Interesting enough, the
wow.
Black Isle actually isn't an island, which is
Yeah,
a
you've got
kind of
that story.
Scottish thing. A kind of Scottish
Yeah,
thing to do that. I call an island an isle when it's not an island. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But it's your castles everywhere as well. And
yeah. We've got some cool castles.
oh, I'd love to go to Nairn because that's got a nice beach. But I nearly stayed in Nairn, but in the end, I stayed in. Yeah, I forgot where I stayed. I stayed like on a little cliff just above a beach, which is beautiful. That was just around from Culloden. But
Right.
yeah, but absolutely stunning place. Yeah, Nairn Beach. Is that how you play? Oh, the Drovers Inn. No, yeah, that's well known.
The Drovers Inn. That's down at that's not Inverness. That's Loch Lomond side.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's one
further
of
south.
the most well known, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've driven past it. I've still to get there myself.
you haven't been, right?
I haven't been,
Okay.
no.
So is it the Jamaica Inn version of Scottish version of the Jamaica Inn?
Yeah.
So what have you been up to then? You're recently out and about, sort of. Do you go to
Yeah.
like, castles or graveyards? What sort of place do you go to?
Well, as I said, with the weather improving, we can now get out. So on Saturday night, that was probably our first proper outing as a group, not a private investigation, which we do all year round. But
Yeah.
as a group, we were out at Ruthven Barracks near King Newsey on
Mm.
Saturday night. So Ruthven is about it's probably over it's definitely over half an hour's drive from Inverness, but it's probably about 45 minutes from Inverness, south. So if you're heading down the main A9 route that takes you to Perth and then into the Central Belt, you
Okay.
will see on your left-hand side a massive ruin structure sitting on what looks like a man-made hill, but it's not actually a man-made hill. It is actually natural. And there's been a castle on the site since the 1200s. In the 1300s, Alexander Stewart was there. He is better known as the Wolf of Badenoch, and he is responsible for all sorts of horrible things. But when the church refused to give him a divorce, he basically went to Elgin and he destroyed the second biggest cathedral in Elgin. He
Oh,
destroyed
okay.
the bishop's palace, and then he burnt most of Elgin to the ground.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's the Wolf of Badenoch.
I
He
know a lady
then,
who does tours there.
yeah,
Yeah, I've met
there's
her.
Elgin,
Yeah.
there's the Elgin tours there. So the Wolf of Badenoch is said that his demise came one night at Ruthven when a tall, dark stranger asked him to play a game of chess in Scott. The chess game took place, and in the morning, all the Wolf of Badenoch's men were found outside the castle, burnt to a
Oh, God.
cinder, basically. And he was found in the castle, but they said that his boots had been blown off and he was dead. And that the game of chess had actually been against the devil and he'd lost.
Oh, my gosh.
So
How
whether
cool.
that story's true or not, I'll leave to yourself.
Wow.
But then Ruthven became, the castle ended up being a ruin. After an earlier Jacobite rebellion in 1715, they built the barracks there so they could keep the rowdy Highlanders at bay. It worked to a certain extent, but eventually the Jacobites took control of it. And after the Battle of Culloden, and not a lot of folk know this, 4,000 Jacobite soldiers actually regrouped at Ruthven, ready to fight on,
Wow.
only to be told basically that the prince had done a runner and that it was each man for himself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So as I said, Ruthven, very interesting site. We picked up, we believe, a stable boy when we were there. The stables are at the back, and they seem to be actually more active than the yeah, checkmate, than the actual barracks themselves. So it was a really interesting night. We've had light anomalies there before and things like that as well. I said we've been doing some private work. We also did a little segment with Danish national TV.
Wow.
So
Brilliant.
we took them to a wonderful building it's a spa village called Strathpeffer. So again, it's about half an hour from Inverness. It's a Victorian spa village. There's the pavilion there. We've investigated the pavilion before because things have gone on in it. So we went there with them. Had a great couple hours with them. Got some activity which was really really cool.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether we'll get to see what they put out on air, but they seem quite happy with that. And as I said, the pavilion's got a wonderful history. It was used actually for the American folk list watching that. It was actually used in World War One as a U.S. naval hospital, and
Wow. Okay.
over 1,000 patients came through its doors, which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
They actually took, I think it was from New York, they actually basically took staff from one hospital in New York and took them over to
Wow.
Strathpeffer. So the nurses, the doctors, they all knew each other because they'd worked in a civilian hospital before the war. And we believe that building is actually haunted by an American.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that there's a hospital there.
Yeah, it was.
So it sounds so small and everything. And
Yeah, I mean, especially during in World War II, north of Inverness, you could not travel north of Inverness without a permit because there was
okay.
so much secret army, navy stuff going on. There was numerous bases north of Inverness, and there's still remnants of them scattered about as well. So that's something else you can explore. So you couldn't do that in World War One again. Even in Inverness in World War One, the U.S. Navy had a base within Inverness itself for,
Wow.
believe it or not, mines. And the pictures are crazy. You're seeing these train wagons full of mines, and you're thinking, if that had gone up, it would have blown
Yeah,
Inverness
Inverness. Yeah, bigger.
to bits. So yeah, it's, as I said, it's just another piece of history. There's nothing really now left to suggest that they were in Strathpeffer or Inverness at all, really, though some of the buildings still exist, obviously.
Yeah, that's right.
My favourite story about the I'll tell you about the Strathpeffer Pavilion, though, isn't paranormal. So this young unknown band from Liverpool called the Beatles were playing 12 miles down the road in Dingwall. They played to 20 people.
Oh my God.
They were terrible. That's their own words.
Oh my
So
God.
they packed up, and somebody said to him, "There's a gig in Strathpeffer at the Pavilion. Do you want to go?" So the Beatles went through to a gig and watched a local band playing to over 1,000 people in the Pavilion.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I love that story.
Right. That's incredible. So was that like well and truly in their early days when they'd just been
Yeah, that was about,
together or
I think
something?
that was about 8 or 9 months before they broke. So they did a
Right.
tour of the north of Scotland because they played Dingwall, they played Elgin to the east that I know of,
Wow.
within the same days. And actually, if you go to Dingwall Town Hall, there's a blue plaque on the wall saying the Beatles played here.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
you've got it, haven't you? You know,
yeah,
yeah, who'd have thought it?
yeah,
Like, a lot of places would have been, people touring like that would have been do the working men's club, wouldn't they, to get
yeah,
out and about? But to go
yeah.
round Inverness way,
Yeah,
uh,
it's amazing some of the
yeah,
bands that actually played up in this area. I mean, you've got and in play like Nairn itself. There's a hall in Nairn that's no longer a music venue, but again, you've got I think it was Pink Floyd, Status Quo,
oh my God,
to
yeah,
name
that's
but two, played in Nairn. You know,
wow, yeah. I've seen Floyd and they're incredible. I had to go to London to see them.
yeah,
Hammersmith, but
would
yeah.
have probably cost a bit more than I would have seen them in Nairn as well.
Yeah,
I would
well and
imagine.
truly, yeah. Yeah, it's a few years ago, but yeah,
Yeah,
was quite a bit there. But
yeah.
wow. Yeah, it's just fantastic that I wouldn't have expected really.
I
Sort of
just love the
being built
history.
there.
I love anything that's history, and it doesn't need to be hundreds of years ago. It can be last week. I just love the whole any of these little historic nuggets. Um,
Well, that's
you know,
right.
yeah,
And like you've told people now on here, then people think, oh yeah, they went there. So
yeah.
like if not that I can because the way you pronounce things, I don't know how you spell those places. And I certainly wouldn't be able to pronounce them the same way.
Strathpeffer,
Strathpeffer.
perfect.
It's a bit. Is it a Scottish word?
Yeah, well, Strath is valley.
Strathish, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Ah,
Peffer. Don't know where Peffer comes from,
like
but
German,
it's
isn't it?
Strathpeffer sits in a valley, so it's
All right,
Strathpeffer. Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's great that you've got all these stories and you do the ghost walk, don't you?
Yeah, the ghost walks are really popular. They came out of lockdown. So before lockdown, we used to do paranormal open meets in a local cafe.
Oh, lovely.
And it just allowed folk to come along and chat about the paranormal and, meet like-minded folk. But when lockdown happened, we knew that quite a few of the folk were living on their own, couldn't get out. So we started doing virtual lives, and then we started doing walk rounds. I did a few walk rounds in various places, graveyards around Inverness,
Oh,
pointing out
lovely.
historics and the stories. So I said at the end of lockdown, I would do a ghost walk, one ghost walk, to for those people if they wanted to come along. It was just so popular. We did a second, and I said, right, that's it. I'm not doing any more. And then on the second one, a good friend who's a tour guide was along on, and he says, you've got to keep doing these. So I've just carried on doing them. And I do one a month, but if folk want, I can do a special one as well. And we used to do them 100% free. We charge a little now,
Yeah,
but
that's right.
it just helps with the running costs of the team, because we are non-profit. So everything comes out of our own pocket. We did a location last year, and it cost us £800 out of our own
Yeah.
pockets to do that. So we kind of thought after that we can't sustain you know,
No.
that kind of approach. As I said, if we were a business, we'd been put out of business long ago because we run at a loss every month. But you know, that's not, it's a hobby, you know. It's
Yeah,
not
that's
you
right.
know, it's not, that's not a problem. But you know, at the same point in time, we've got to try and be sensible about it. So as I said, yeah, we do the walks now. I only charge £5, which is cheap as chips, if I'm being honest, for a walk. And it's about, you know, an hour and a half's walk around part of
Yeah,
Inverness,
that's right. But
3
people
graveyards as
oh,
well. So
okay, well, but
yeah.
people expect to pay for things, you know? They really do, and £5's nothing, is it?
No, no, we've always tried to
At
keep
all.
anything that we do. I mean, we don't normally events, we're there, but it's not our event. You know, normally
Okay,
it's somebody
yeah,
else's event, and we're just there to do the paranormal element of it. We've only
yeah,
did last year. We did Castle Fraser in Aberdeenshire, um, for ourselves. That was the first one. We kind of said, right, we need to generate some funds here, so we did that one ourselves, and we're going back again this year because we had so much fun last year doing it. It was
right,
brilliant. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But, you know, it does cost so much because I do book locations, and it's people I know, basically. I invite them along, and, you know, I might be short already because I've got a location Friday, and I don't push. Like, I could fill it, but I just kind of, I only want 10 people, and then people sort of say they come in, then they're not, or whatever. And it's just like, we just turn up and we have a play and just see what we can get. And with us being all like minded, you know, some of us just want to go off and do a live or whatever, that's fine. And we, you know, we just trust each other, and that's it, isn't it?
yeah.
And
That's excellent. That sounds
great to
really
be
good.
able to do that. And, you know, I've organised a few events like that now, and, you know, you just turn up, work together. If you want to split, that's it. And because, you know, sometimes you're just restricted about what you can and can't do. And, you know, I think it's the last 5 years I've been getting locations, and originally like haunted antiques because I knew the location, and I know it even more now, you know, because obviously I host there. But, you know, it's just incredible just to go and see what you can get, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think we're so lucky. I always, you know, people go, "Oh, thanks for coming," and it's like, "Thank you for opening your doors," kind of thing. You know,
Oh,
it's
bless you,
you know,
yeah.
and in a lot of locations that we have done. I mean, you know, some of the locations people have been so welcoming. You know, they've opened their doors. No, we don't want any money. We're not going to take any money from you.
Wow.
Um, you know, and you know, and then you've got the other side of the coin where you're, you know, you're being you're approaching somewhere. We
Mm.
didn't approach somewhere, but somebody I know approached on our kind of on our behalf kind of thing. Then they wanted us to do an event, and the location, this is for charity, the location was saying yes, sure, £5,000.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah, and charities, like, God, that's a lot of people, isn't it?
yeah,
Just,
yeah,
you know, oh, Jesus, no. It's just not worth it.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
it's good. And I mean, I suppose as well, what we talked about this in our own show and stuff, is the more you go back to the same location, the more you seem to get, because there seems to be a trust built up.
definitely.
You think so? Yeah, with spirit and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I spent 4 weeks out of 6 at Tutbury this year, and it wasn't intended. It just happened. I don't know why. Like, my friend decided to put the first time it was like a public ghost hunt, but in the end, I ended up helping Barry John. But, you know, I think I couldn't actually book onto that one, but I booked onto the second one. But then my friends organised a night, Barry organised a night, and I ended up working the first one. So the first one, straight away, I was in the dungeon. And I don't know, something happened, and I sort of linked in with this lady. And it seemed like whenever I spent time in that dungeon, something was trying to communicate with me. So then I went on there and I went to another location, and someone threw up there. And it sounds like that. Oh no, it was at Tutbury, that was it. The first 45 minutes of this session, 2 people threw up. And it's a public night and I was hosting it. It's not good. So then I went to another location on another public event, but I was a guest. And once again, it's in this woman came through, and someone threw up there. And it's like, oh, okay. And then I went to Haunted Antiques, and this lady popped through again on a public event, and it turned up that somehow she'd attached herself to me. And I think because I sort of, at the first meeting, I sort of acknowledged her, and I was nice and respectful to her. Apart from, in my head, I got the phrase serving wench, and when I said, "Oh, you were serving wench," the whole atmosphere just like went a bit, whoa. And then I said, "Oh, did somebody call you that?" And yeah, they did. So that was why I got that word. And it's just fascinating, isn't it? And I did, like, I think 4 out of 6 times you were sort of getting sort of a similar story. We're getting voices as well. Whenever we spoke, we could hear voices in the background, just above our voices, but you couldn't hear them without speaking.
Wow.
And it's just fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
If a
Yeah,
that's right. But also, if you've never been to a location, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I went to that weird shop in Nottingham, and it seemed that we got there and they sort of hung back. They didn't kind of know what to do with us. It's all new to them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because they've been doing what they do, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, did they have to be mediums to see us?
I don't know. We do a lot of work now with rods. And I know people sit. I know people sit on the fence with rods, and
rods are great. I just don't use them very well.
But one of the questions we will ask is, "Can you see us?" Yes. Okay. Can you spin the rod in my left arm for the number of people?
Awesome.
That are here now, and we normally get an accurate response.
Yeah.
Now, again, is it our subconscious? We don't realize we're doing it. I'm not going to say it is or it isn't. But skeptically, that's what people will say. I've seen the rods moving so fast, and they're going, their hands moving. It goes, yeah, their hands moving. If you had that holding that rod at the speed that rod was spinning at, your hand would be moving as well.
Yeah, I got my stalker on tonight. It's gone. Oh, but oh dear, it always comes up, doesn't it? Yeah, but I wished I could use dowsing rods. And like when I've been at, I don't know, I did sort of do development. I've been doing it for about 8 years, but it's gone at the moment. I'm really not hitting the target. I don't know what's going on, but I think stress can sort of hit it a bit. And there's times I've been on events and I've been getting information, and there's been somebody with rods, and I've been getting all the yes answers because I'm given the information, and then it's yes, and then when somebody's using the rods, just to test them, I just throw in a wrong question. So I just send something totally wrong in. I know it's wrong, just to test them, and it comes up now.
Like, we do that. Yeah. And it's
incredible,
as I said,
isn't it?
It's fascinating. It's just like, and you will put, when we do a public event, we don't use the equipment. We hand the equipment over to the guests. We show them how to use it, and they've got it. So they're the ones holding the rods. We may ask the questions, but they don't know the answers. And then we've had ones where people obviously are having personal experience with somebody they know that's come through, and we just simply say to them, you don't need to talk out loud, just say it in your head.
Yes.
Your question, come out a yes no question, but only you know the answer to it, and see what the rods do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fascinating. And keep at the rods, because when I started with the rods, I was absolutely useless.
Helicopter taking my eyes out. That's what happened. They're just spinning like mad. It's like, whoa, too dangerous, these. But I do like them. And my friends, they run Haunted Heritage Public Events Company, and they do a lot of work with the rods. So the guests, they sort of get the guests to try them and work out how to use them. And I've tried them. And there's a museum in Derby, and we sort of went in and sort of said, are you connected to any of the paintings here? And I was drawn to a painting, and the rods kind of took me to a particular painting. Then I picked up more and more information, And yeah, actually, I was correct on what I was getting. But yeah, I picked up a right story, and the rods were confirming, but then so did history as well. And yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? And
Yeah,
I was thinking these rods, they're not doing anything, and yeah, it was, different
yeah,
responses at different
yeah. It's great when you know what you're doing, and then the history ticks the box. The research
Definitely,
ticks
yeah,
the box. I get a little chill. I'll be quite honest if a linear researcher comes back and says, "Yep, that was spot on." Yeah.
yeah. I used to use the crystal quite a lot. That was kind of one of the first methods I did use,
Hmm.
and you kind of change, don't you? And why don't I use that more? I think I wanted more than yes and no, so that's why I went development route, so you could get more of a story. But then,
Yeah.
if you're linking to them, then that's handy. You're getting the story as well. So, do you pick up anything psychically?
No, I don't think I pick up anything. So I've always said, I'm not spiritual. I'm not spiritual. And it's quite funny because over the years, I've certainly become more
Yeah.
spiritual. And I have been affected on a few locations. Um, I've seen things, I've heard things, but I don't get messages as such in any
Yeah.
shape or form. I was always kind of the skeptical gadget guy when we started out,
Oh, yeah.
but I've kind of gone off gadgets. I think gadgets are just a bit of a rip-off, if I'm being honest. I mean, I've got a couple of things that I always use my audio recorder. I always have an EMF meter, but when you look at the prices of some of the kit that's for sale now,
Oh, gee.
and it's just ridiculous, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, don't,
Yeah,
as I said,
definitely.
tend to, we just don't have the money. you know
That's
um
right. But I find I've bought kit and you just break it, because it's in and out your bag, you're carrying it, you're likely to lose it as well. So you're investigating, it's night time, you've been done about 4 vigils, you just got to grab everything quickly and leave, haven't you? And
yeah,
you might have left something somewhere. And
I don't think I've lost anything yet, but it's quite common
wish
for
you would as for me.
um equipment to arrive home with me and have somebody else's name on it.
E-
you know and vice versa, not just both ways. Especially
yeah.
when we're doing events and we've got like 100 K2 meters and things like
Oh,
that out,
Jesus,
well,
yeah.
not that many, but it feels like that sometimes. So yeah, but no, as I said, I think I've become a bit less. I think you need a few things. You need to be able to take base readings and look for the logical.
That's right, yeah.
So an EMF meters is good for that alone.
As long
Audio,
as you understand how it works
yes,
and you
yeah.
don't have your mobile phone right under.
Oh yes,
Look,
oh
it's
yes,
going up.
yeah. Well, we
Yeah,
always say, the first thing we say is, right, ladies and gentlemen, you need to put your phones on
phones. Yeah,
airplane off or on airplane mode, and of course
definitely.
smartwatches now as well.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
but Stefan, who's on tonight, he was showing me his new, well, I don't know how new it is, EMF meter, which actually will tell you if there's a phone signal.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
I'm going to probably invest in one of those because I think, yeah,
Yeah,
that would
that's
be
better.
that
That's,
that
yeah,
that
of
would, and it's a challenge, especially when we're doing private locations, because you are dealing with Wi-Fi
course you
in buildings. So you have to be kind of very, very mindful of that as well. And walkie-talkie,
are. Oh,
Stefan's going to go,
yeah,
yeah, the
just
walkie-talkies
everything
and the
off.
REM pods.
Yeah,
My REM pod never goes off, so it's fine.
yeah.
In fact, my REM pod has gone off. It went off once. I had my back turned to it, and I said to everybody else, "What was that?" And they all saw it, and they said it was your REM pod.
Oh.
And then it was going off it rather than the other night until we realized what was happening. Every time the wind was really blowing strong, there was kind of foliage blowing against the REM pod, triggering it. So that
Oh,
was debunked. That was debunked. A little bit of excitement, but no, it ended up being debunked as well. But yeah, you're
that's
right. You have to know the equipment and how
oh
to
gosh, definitely.
how to use it. Yeah.
So I've just got 3 bits of kit. I went to the Paramete and this guy. It's sort of like it does more like scientific. He's like into the science thing because he's designed something which has a green light on. If it goes cold gradually, nothing happens. If there's a quick drop colder, then it
Mhm.
goes blue. If it's a quick drop hot, up, it goes red. And,
Yeah.
that's for sudden temperature changes, which is wonderful. And I actually tried that out recently. I was actually the last person in the location. It's closed its doors because
Oh.
the owner's been sent down. And
Oh.
it's a hell of a shock, really. So I was the last person in on Saturday to lock the doors and was probably the last one in the building, to be fair.
Mm.
It's like, because he got sent down on the Monday, which was shock. I didn't realise, you don't, do you?
No.
Yeah, and that was to me an incredible. It's one of my favourite locations, and it's gone. It's
Yes,
it's
that's I mean that's a shame. I mean, we used to go to Touchwood House here in Inverness on a regular basis, but sadly, the owner Susan passed away last year, and Susan was a great friend of the groups. She'd supported us for a long, long time, and she opened her doors to us whenever we wanted. There was nowhere like it. It was just yeah, it was a magical place. She was a practicing witch. The house was a guest house. It actually appeared on Miriam and Alan's Tour of Scotland.
wow. Okay.
So yeah, as I said, it was a really fascinating house. It had all sorts. I've seen full figure in there. I'd seen orbs flashing before my eyes. Somebody else sitting beside me also seeing it, so it wasn't just
That's
me.
brilliant to get that validation.
Yeah, we did our open meets there after lockdown, and 5 people independently all saw a grey shadow coming down the stairs. Just so much. And I remember her phoning me up one day when the house was empty, and she says, "You're not going to believe this. There's this 1 pence piece sitting on a chair in the hall." And I thought, oh, come on, Susan, really? Somebody will have picked it up and put it there, and you've just noticed it. So a couple of days later, we were doing an event there, and I arrived early, and she says, "I'm going to show you where it was." She says, I kept the coin. And she went to the kitchen, got the coin, came back through with it. And she says, "You know what's really strange?" She says, "It's like from 1995, but it's like a brand new coin. It's
Oh,
really
yeah.
shiny 1 pence piece." So she
Yeah.
put it down on the chair, and we looked down at it. We made eye contact, carried on talking. We looked down again, and next to the 1 pence, shiny 1 pence piece now, was a dirty, scabby 1 pence piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it wasn't me, and I know it wasn't her. So it was just like, wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take a lot, does it? You don't have to have a lot for it to be a wow factor.
No.
I
I
went
mean,
to, I think it's Mulgrave, it's a castle near Whitby. So I went there with Brian Holloway and Sam. And we're there, walked up, and I was just doing a live feed. And the grass in front of me, it's like somebody's walking on it. You saw the grass go down and spring up, and it's like, you're watching it in front of you. It's like, explain. It was obvious, a footstep. It wasn't the wind. You kind of rule everything out. And it's one of them, isn't it? You saw
yeah.
it. You can't deny it.
Well, that's
And
it. And then we're so privileged
wonderful.
to be able to do this. I mean, I always kind of say that I think they've got a rule. If you're filming, they ain't showing themselves. But as soon as you're not filming, and nearly everything that happened at Touchwood happened when I was normally there, not investigating. Because Susan was a friend I'd go and visit and whatnot. So a lot of the activity that happened would be just when we were sitting about, relaxing, cup of tea or whatever. Because the night I saw the full figure was really kind of, there was people staying in the house, and I was actually sitting opposite to the woman who was up. There's a gallery in the hall, and her bedroom was right in front on the top of the gallery, and her door had been propped open. So she's sitting in front of me, and I've just saw this figure walk across the room, and I thought, I can't say to her, I can't say a word. You know, she's got to sleep in there tonight, you know. Um, so I didn't say a word, but interesting enough, when we investigated that room several months later, I walked into something.
Oh, wow.
And it was really, really strange. There was a sudden temperature change. I mean, I carried on walking, but it slowed me down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I immediately did a U-turn, walked, retraced my steps, but it was gone.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Oh, it's fascinating, and
yeah,
that's the thing about paranormal. It's your story, it's your experiences,
yeah,
and that they are like crazy, aren't they? You know, but wow, it's so fascinating.
yeah. And it's lovely to share stories, hear
Oh,
stories from
isn't
other
it?
people. I mean, I'm more than happy to sit and listen to people telling me, their experiences and whatnot. It's just so enjoyable. And I think as well that in a lot of cases people go, Christ, you believe me? I thought you
Yeah.
think I'm mad, but I'm like, no, I believe you. I believe you. Because I used to laugh. I work in the IT industry,
Right.
and a lot of people were, oh, you don't believe that, do you? These are guys who are based on science and that, and they'll go, ha 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 ha, you do that, no, that's silly. That you can't believe in that. You a couple hours later, you'll be at the tea area on your own, and the same individual come up and say, I've got a story I need to share with you. Something that happened to me. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
brilliant, isn't it?
yeah,
This is it. This is why I love it so much. Yeah, you see,
yeah.
I'm not hot on physics, which is a shame. I try and logically think why. And I use probability as well. So, if something happens, okay, you try and rule everything out. But then if it happens on demand and demand again, and I know like there's somebody today been calling people who, go to these devices and they change colour. But like this device which goes blue, which goes red, um, at the Robin Hood where I was about 2 3 weeks ago, it was doing it on demand.
Hmm.
So we were getting a sudden temperature change on demand.
Yeah.
So it was more than just a blue light or a red light. It was an actual scientific change.
Yeah, they're the ones that they've really impressed me is when you get that
Yeah,
it's intelligent basically. You're
that's
asking it to do
right.
something and it's
And it
doing it.
turned out a game for them in a way
Yeah,
because they worked out how to make it blue and then they started making it red. And like a lot of the times they say about spirit sort of having cold, it's the coldness, but then you get in the hot. So what?
yeah.
What? How? It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
but as
just
long as you're
love it.
questioning it, that's good.
Oh, everything under the
It's
sun.
it's like we do get these folk who everything's paranormal, and it's like, no, it can't
Wow,
be. It can't all be paranormal.
that's
Um,
right.
yeah, yeah. I was hearing all about Eileen's auntie last week. Fascinating lady. Um, and definitely
Sounds
where
it, doesn't she?
definitely where you need to ask her about her auntie.
Oh
Definitely.
gosh, yeah, I need
Yeah.
to. Need to get her back on a show so we can have a chat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just love it. And you get all these people, "Oh, paranormal ghosts, it's all rubbish." Well, yeah, okay, whatever. But we're just honoured to be part of this fascinating world. This unseen world. Well, if you haven't seen it, oh wow,
Yeah. I think
it's
that's
incredible,
for a
isn't
lot
it?
of people. They need to see something
Which
to
same
believe it.
for
And I've,
me.
I've I've and I've even met people who've seen things and then just go into complete denial.
Yeah,
But
I
that it
know.
is what it is what it is. But yeah, you're right. We're honored to be able to do this, and
Yeah,
it's amazing, and it's so yeah. Just when you get one of those experiences, you just feel so privileged. I mean, for me, rather than on Saturday night, for instance, I didn't get too much myself, but I was standing at the gate at the stables, and the next thing I heard two footsteps. It was just
wow.
like two footsteps come up to the gate, and it was like something was standing there watching us.
Yeah,
Um,
fascinating.
and at the time, we were communicating with a little boy through the rods, and Claire, who was using the rods, started asking questions about the man. Is it a man that's at the gate? Are you scared of him? Yes. It turned out it was his father. He was and he was scared. So yeah, I mean that alone made my night. That listening to that and hearing that and thinking, well, that couldn't debunk it. Couldn't work out what else it could possibly be.
Yeah, that's
You know, so yeah, it's. And then again, you go to some locations and you get nothing, as you know, and
yeah.
it's just one of these things.
I usually do get something, even if it's tiny.
Mm.
And I think now I just expect loads, because you do, don't you? And like I'm returning to Matlock Pavilion on Friday, my booking, and that is the place what showed me that something did exist, because basically I'd got a little child that basically took over my body to there. We're holding hands. All of a sudden, I was doing the hokey cokey in a circle. I then started laughing crazily, even though I
Hmm.
didn't believe in this sort of jazz. And my head was going to my mouth, get it out of me, but I couldn't actually speak. And, it's just like, so from then on, I don't know. Have I gone through a different barriers? So now I'm seeing, I don't, are you that close that then something, you are given something by spirit to actually show you there is something out there? So then you want to do this more?
I think the more open you are to it, the more likely you are to get a connection and see things. I mean, I remember, as I said, Susan telling me years ago, she says, Spirit likes you. She says, Spirit likes you because you're respectful to them.
Yeah.
You know, you believe in them and you're respectful to them. So, as I said, spiritually, I know I'm much more spiritual than I was. I
Yeah.
still have this, skeptical approach to investigating, but yeah, I'm definitely more open to it. But for the time there, I was extremely skeptical, and I was too skeptical,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I was just shutting everything down,
Yeah.
absolutely everything down, and I was nothing. I had a logical explanation for everything, you know, and
Yeah.
it's nonsense. It's when I look back on it, it's like, did I really say that? Um, to the same extent, I remember posting pictures of orbs and things like that when I first started out, getting really excited about them. But you're
We all
learning all
did
the time.
though. Come on,
You're learning
we all
all the
did.
time.
We love the old pictures.
But yeah, it's so you can go one way or the other. But I think if you're open to spirit, and we're all kind of inviting them, I suppose, in what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I had an experience at, saying to Eileen and Nicola last week, I had an experience at Durn House in Port Soy, which we go to on quite a regular basis. It's an old house that goes back to, again, Culloden. It's got links to Culloden, but it
Wow.
goes back even further than that. But we'd gone in to a specific room, and in one corner of the room, quite a few of us actually ended up being affected by it. But I actually went into that corner and I got a headache straight away, felt nausea. Um, then even the guests are saying all the colours drained out of you.
Wow.
I think
So
you need to leave. I think you need to, they're telling me, I think you need to leave the room.
no.
Um, so I had to leave the room at the point where I was getting chest pains. I thought I got
Oh
to leave the
gosh.
room.
Yes.
And I walked away in a daze, and I actually had my paranormal hangover for 2 days. I don't never had a 2-dayer before. I had a 2-day
Wow.
paranormal hangover, but it did seriously I've been seriously questioning myself around the spiritual side of things and thinking I need to get myself better protected here, because as the energy drained out of me in that room, the equipment went off.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's yeah, be careful what you ask for, because I
Yeah,
asked. Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, yeah. So yeah.
Oh, I like that. You always felt like you get a bit of reputation on the other side, good or bad, depending on your personality and the way you investigate. But I sort of get the ones coming to me with the sub stories, and oh my god, some of the things, like there's a local hall to me, And I picked up mediumistically on this guy, and they've got this really rich family. They had a hall, and whether he's either disabled or illegitimate, he was actually kept in a room off the kitchen. And I actually got imaged of him crawling along the floor getting food, what was thrown into him like a dog. And this is a hall I know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a hall I've been to as a child. I used to walk there. And then to get that image, but then I mentioned it to my friend, and she says, yeah, in those days, if they had a child they didn't want seen, they would do that.
Yeah.
And, I'm just intrigued to see if somebody else picks up on it. There was a medium there that night, and they were with me when it was all coming through. And it was that room where, it was just off that room last time where I went, where I got something really close to me. It hit my voice. It gave me like a pneumonia symptom. And then I pushed it away from me, and then it got this woman, and she was sick. Actually there, but I think that was to do with the Tutbury Castle thing. But it's just fascinating, isn't
Yeah.
it? And you can't. The spirit knows your name. You must be doing something right, and yeah, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. It's I think most of us now have had the moment where we've heard our name being called out, or on the rods will go, can you point the rods to a certain member of the team by name, and the rods point to that person. So yeah, it's we firmly believe that going back to a location time and time again, you build up a trust and a rapport with the spirits that are there. We did a private investigation where the reports had been of basically not a very nice man being in this building. The last family that had lived there left and said they would never go back. Some workers decided to go in when they heard the story, and apparently a shelf came flying off the wall towards them. And when we went in, we were getting very much these kind of vibes on the rods and things like that. He didn't want us there. But we worked away with him for about 2 hours, and then after that, he mellowed a bit.
That's cool.
And interesting enough, when we went back to that location again, we didn't pick him up on the second occasion, which we found really interesting as well, because he did seem to be very protective of the property. And we had one of our team mediums with us on the first occasion, and she picked up the names, and she was 100% right with the names. We didn't even know the names. The gentleman whose house it was, the property it was, we went to see him straight away afterwards to tell him what we'd found, and he was blown away, because it was like, he goes, and I even know, he says, that guy's son is still alive.
Wow.
So I can go and speak to his son about it.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It is fascinating if you can speak to somebody who is known. I went to a pub near Stratford, and we picked up on a spirit who passed in 1999, a former landlord, and we were doing the board, and he kept going, ha ha. And he kind of said on the board, how are you doing this? And he was asking us how we were communicating with him on the board. Well, usually, we just think it's them doing it, but he asked us. And so then we could ask him questions about the afterlife, because he was from our time. And the landlord of the pub at the time, he knew that this guy was around him all the time. So we sort of found out that we got a name of one of the customers. He told us the name of one of the customers, and I mentioned it to the landlord the next day because he wasn't there that night. And we said, it says hello to George. And the landlord freaked out, because the last thing George said was say hello to that landlord, and he actually came through. And he
brilliant.
obviously heard that conversation, said it to us.
Yeah,
And like it's just incredible, isn't it?
yeah,
It,
yeah,
it
yeah.
I just love it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I it was I saw a video with a French medium, and she actually described going back to, I think it was the 12th century. She was in a castle. She went
Wow.
back to 12th century, and she could see, I think it was a monk,
My gosh.
but the monk could see her, and the monk thought she was the ghost, and he was freaking out at his end.
Oh my god.
Um, and that's where we started to think, because before that, I never kind of really thought, and I feel really ashamed to say this, I never kind of thought, what do they see?
Yeah, that's right.
And it was, they see us. So that's now, we do a lot of it when we're doing questions. We normally ask things like, can you see us?
Yeah.
Can you confirm how many living people are here? And then you've got the whole debate, should you be using the word spirit?
I
Should,
have an
or
issue. I can't.
yeah,
I don't know what to call them.
no, I'm very much in the same kind of
It's
boat right now.
awful.
I used to always use spirit, and then a few people say to me, do you know that might not be quite, they might not know they're dead.
I wouldn't want to be called spirit.
Yeah. So it's
Spirit,
like,
what's one of those?
yeah.
Like
So
I don't know. I kind
it
of go, how many of you are in the room? I
yeah,
don't know what to say. I really don't.
yeah, probably a generic
I don't
response
know.
is probably best.
I don't know. There's 5 of us. How many of you?
Yeah,
But then you is one person. So I
yeah.
don't. Wow.
Well,
That's fantastic. That is. And we don't know what timeline we're talking to people on, do
no,
we?
no, we don't. I mean, that's we've kind of talked a little about in the past about time slips, for instance, and
Yeah.
the whole idea of, I know that street in Liverpool's the one that's the prime example, isn't it? Where the two folk walked into the shop and found themselves transported back, two total strangers, never met each
Yeah.
other, and ended up being back in what 1930s Liverpool or whatever. And for two people to independently have that experience.
Yeah. It's
Sorry, sorry,
incredible.
sorry, science. How do you explain that one?
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think like there's enough people being with you when you've experienced something. Like you mentioned spirit lights.
Mm,
Once again, I'm going to my little path, I can't wait. So it's an old building from 1900s. It's built for the local, they're getting more tourists in, so they had music on and stuff like that. It's got auditorium and we're just there, we're doing a circle. It was a public night. Someone holding hands, just looking at the stage. There's a dark mass, and it got darker and darker, and it got a face. It got a school-like face, but I saw it. The woman next door to me saw it as well.
mhm.
And when you both, I screamed out because I thought, you know what I mean? It's like I didn't run, but it's just the shock of it, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
And we're holding hands, and her hand sort of, at the same time, and I've done it with spirit lights as well, and me and someone else seen it, and oh, it's incredible, isn't it? It really
yeah,
is.
yeah. It's just absolutely fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I don't even think about the eye thing either.
yeah. It's just, as I said,
Wow.
it's is this what we're getting, or is it two timelines converging?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Are they just getting a lot on with their own lives, and then
yeah,
all of a sudden, whoa, we're here,
yeah,
and who's in the right time zone? Well, you don't know, do you? Really?
yeah. That's an interesting one, because I've had a few people have experiences what, technically speaking, guardian angels have
Wow.
appeared
Okay.
in some way or another, and then something horrible has happened
Oh my
within a
god.
day or 2 days, um, of the guardian angel. Sometimes it's a visible that they're there, or
Yeah.
sometimes it's just a feeling they get. Um,
Oh my
but
gosh.
yeah, there was a really fascinating one that you'll know of Chris Conway, the medium that was on.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yes. So Chris he did some private sessions in Inverness for charity many years ago. And one of my work colleagues got one of the sessions, and she went with her boyfriend, who was a complete skeptic. He was only in the room to keep her company until Chris turned to him and said, basically, about 10 years ago, you were going to get onto a boat, weren't you? And
God.
he says, yes. He says, but I got this feeling that I shouldn't go. And Chris says, that was your uncle. Your uncle gave you that feeling. The boat sunk.
Jesus.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
And I've heard other ones as well. It's slightly even more horrific in the fact that, somebody's appeared to somebody and within an hour, that person's actually been attacked by somebody.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, I firmly believe that. I think you're right. I think we were talking about that. There is a rule book. I think there is some kind of rule book.
Yeah, I've certainly found that.
Yeah.
If you can, if you found somebody who you can talk to, and even this guy in the pub, I did ask him if there was some sort of unwritten rule, and it seems that you can't find out what happens between here and there. It's that bit there, and they won't tell you.
No.
It's a massive secret, and I don't know. And I've asked them, and even this guy who died from that pub, he wouldn't give that info. So is there an unwritten rule? Yeah. I asked him, and it's just fascinating. Yeah, definitely.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Andy. Yeah, you're all right. But it's just so incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just I was saying we're just scratching the surface. We're nowhere near getting answers to. It's so much of this.
I think I like it that you can't really get evidence. Well, you can get evidence for yourself because you've got an EVP. You know who was around. You know it's genuine.
Yeah.
But if you get somebody else going, "Oh, I've got an EVP," you've got to trust them.
Yes.
Anyone can have someone in another room speaking and go, whatever, And fair enough. You do trust a lot of people in the community, and you trust your friends, obviously. And but isn't it fascinating? And I actually somebody called me out because I had the most crazy experience last time I went to Matlock Pavilion, and basically something I don't know. The energy was a bit off that night. As soon as one of my friends walked into the building, she's actually investigating with me on Friday. It seemed that something was trying to get around her. So we went to the most, the darkest place on the stage, which, it always happens. So we decided she was sitting in a chair. We had a circle, and we just felt something was happening, and it was just getting stronger and stronger. And we kind of felt that they wanted to break the circle to get in. All of a sudden, there's a poster outside of the wall on the stage, fell off to the ground. Well, we didn't know what it was. It's just a big bang. Then it's just like two from that side just legged it. It rushed in, went through a medium who jumped onto this girl to protect her. And it's just chaos. And this girl was physically sick. It was happening quite a lot around me. But, it ended up in the Haunted magazine as well. It's written up in there. And it's the most incredible night. And I put it on my Facebook. And someone says, well, you can't be a real investigator because you didn't have footage. Wow. Okay. Whatever. I do this for me. I do this to see what you can pick up because I'm happy that there's something out there. I've seen it enough. I don't have to prove to anyone. And if I write an account and I get a name and someone goes, yeah, I got that name, I got this, that's all I need.
Yeah, well, you'll never satisfy the skeptics, the trolls, anyway. I mean, they're always going to, to debunk. Unfortunately, I mean, I've watched a few of these YouTube channels where they do a lot of debunking and stuff like that, and I've actually stopped watching them because they have nothing positive to say about the paranormal community.
No.
They're constantly, it's just total negativity. They just brand everybody as a liar, and it's all faked. And it's like, yeah, there's a large percentage of stuff on the internet which is faked. There's no doubt about that. And the whole TikTok thing as well. I mean, that obviously
Yeah.
has bred even more fakery. But you know, it really, from a genuine, people like yourselves are genuinely out there, you know, investigating. It's quite, you know, heartbreaking and a bit, you know, you get a bit down about the whole thing. I think, if I'm being honest, it's like, you know, what's the point if people are going to be that? But thankfully, there's a lot of positivity out there as well.
That's right.
Yeah,
You kind of mix with like-minded people, don't you?
yeah,
And like the only people I'll ever chat on here are people I respect. If I don't respect someone, I'm not talking to them. There's just no point. You know, it's not going to be the positive chat about the paranormal if you're, you know, trying to keep
no,
polite.
yeah, I know, 100%. I mean, you'll experience this, I'm sure, as well, because when we do events, it's like this. If you've got a group of people who are up for it,
Oh, God, yeah.
you're going to have energies are good. You're going to have a good night. If you
Yeah.
get a group of people who, God knows why they're even here,
Yeah, that's right.
they don't want to get involved. They've got Face of Thunder on all night long. The place is flat.
And
And
they destroy it for everybody, don't they?
yes, yeah, and we've had experiences where
Oh,
that's happened, and it's absolutely horrible. And it goes back to, I think, what Eileen was saying earlier about, you know, you get the best activity when things are light, when people are having a laugh and a bit, you know, you've got to be serious to a certain extent, but you've got to have a laugh, and we get that as well. We get our best things when we're actually laughing. I think the energy levels are higher, and again, I think it's like,
oh.
yeah, that was the one I was thinking about, Lawrence. That was the worst.
Oh, no.
That was one where I had to put two. I had to actually put two newbies who'd never done a group before with a group,
Right,
and
okay.
the poor guys got the worst people. There was two people in the group who were up for it. The rest were not interested. There was a lot of politics about the event, and I think it was a plant, but nothing to do with us, but to do with the location. And towards the end of the night, I said, I'll take over. I'll take this group.
Yeah.
And I struggled like, well, one of the women, she scared the hell out of me. She just looked like she was going to kill me. So yeah, but yeah, that was quite challenging.
It can be painful if you're hosting, though, can't it?
Yeah.
And if you know straight away, you know, you can have these people like that, and I'm only here to bring her and all that, and you get that, or then you get the ones who get possessed at every move. And it can't. But just trying to, you get some strangers, and you've got to like run the evening. You've got to try and do the best you can. You can't guarantee anything's going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh God, sometimes it's hard work, isn't it?
Oh yeah. There's been a couple of occasions where I've said I'm never doing these events again, because I never got into this to do events. Events has just kind of been a side effect of what we do, and a way to get into, if I'm being honest, a way to get into certain locations,
isn't it? That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because I was looking to host at Tutbury 2 nights. I didn't know I was going to do it. It's just like, Barry just asked us to, yeah, cool, and then all of a sudden you run a public night at such a beautiful location, and it's me and 14 people, and it's like, oh well, and yeah, and luckily 2 people threw up quickly, but and they can't deny that didn't happen. That was personal experience to them, wasn't it? And it's not like somebody touching the board and moving the board or stuff like that when they get personal feelings. I do a lot of work of trying to take the energy in of an area. I love energy circles, and anything can break out after that, and often does. That's what happens at Matlock Pavilion, and hopefully on Friday. At the moment, there's about 8 or 9 of us going. I need about 10, but Oh God, we're all up for it. We're all like-minded people. I've worked with everyone before. I just invite them in this group. We're going along, and we're waiting for all hell to break loose. Hopefully,
Fingers crossed. Look forward
yeah.
to hearing all about it.
Well, it usually happens. So yeah, I know. Well, there's so much history there, and it means
Yeah.
a lot to me because I've had so. It's the reason that I do this nearly every week.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah, I get what Eileen's saying there. I do, as I said, public events wasn't something I set out to do. I'm not that I've never been that comfortable public speaking as such.
yeah,
But I do have a passion for the paranormal, and one of the reasons we started doing them was the amount of people that wanted to join the group.
yeah,
We took a decision very early on. We didn't want to have a huge group. Um, and we've actually extended the size of our group. It's bigger than it was. I mean, it used to just be 5 or 6 of us. There's 11 of us at the moment,
yeah.
but we wouldn't go any bigger than that. But one of the reasons we've actually got 11 folk now is to allow us to do event work, and not because what we're finding where we're getting event work, and people with holidays, sickness, and whatnot.
That's
So we to kind of cover that. But as much as these events can be a challenge at time, I've got a wonderful team,
yeah,
and they've always got my back. I've got their back, so that makes it a lot easier.
yeah. I've suddenly I've got like about there's 5 people, 5 of us really, and sort of started getting together more and doing more together. And even though I've not actively looked to get a team, we just kind of got together, and things are happening more now. And one's a fantastic medium. There's one lady who hasn't done a lot, but she's going to grow as we sort
Mhm.
of do more. There's grandmother as well, who's she's a great medium, and and then my other friend, she's a great medium. So it is like a mediumistic sort of group. We work a lot on the energy side of things, and we have high energy as well. So
Mhm.
it can, cause things to happen, can't it?
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. I think that's the whole thing as well about paranormal groups. I know you're saying you're not a group, but
Yeah,
we're
it's
not
kind
all
of
the we're not all the same.
yeah,
We're not all the same, and we can learn from each other. And
that's
by
right.
taking different approaches, we get different experiences, we get different results. And we've always used mediums, though it's kind of taps tend not to use mediums. We always have, and I'm not being rude to mediums, but I've always said to mediums, you're a tool. To me, you're
Yeah,
a tool.
yeah.
Don't be offended by it, but you're just another tool in the box.
Well, that's
Um,
right. Yeah,
and it's just another way to communicate. And I'll be quite honest, nearly everywhere we go, whether it's private or public, they want a medium.
yeah, that's right.
They're
Well, I've
out.
done house clearances, and
Mhm,
the lady I work with, she is to me. There's two sorts of mediums. So there's ones who do the personal messages, and then I'm sort of more into the one picking up from the locations, because I don't like people crying. So you pick up this relative and whatever, and I just struggle when they get cry with it, and they want to hear that, but I sort of step away because it's like, oh no, she's crying, but that's what they want to hear, isn't it? So that's why I'd
yeah,
rather speak to a ghost, a spirit, or whatever we call them, because no relative is going to get upset there, even
no,
though at Tutbury someone's grandma came along, and I got my 96, and yeah, she died at 96. Oh God, no, and she was
we
crying.
we we
And
have had guests in tears because somebody related to them has come through, and it's a difficult one.
yeah, and it happens now at Haunted Antiques. We'll go into one particular room, and the spirits kind of know now that for some reason they've made it that their relatives will come through. And it's weird. You've got all these different rooms with different items in, and all things happening, but one specific room, all of a sudden the family members come through, and it's just, you know, and the spirits allow that to happen, and it's odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
I have a theory that the more, because we've done a lot, we often get personal messages at public events through our
Yeah,
mediums, and I actually think you guys are like a beacon of light
yeah, that's right.
for spirit. So if spirit are actually around these people, all of a sudden they've got this light they can go to, who they can communicate
Yeah,
with their loved ones. I think that definitely happens from an experience I've had doing locations where you're not just getting through, you know, folk that are connected to the building. You're also getting people coming through are connected to the people who are there that night. And I do think it's like, yeah, you're like a lighthouse or a
yeah,
beacon, and they're drawn to you.
that's
Um,
right.
I firmly believe that.
But I'm seeing, like, we're doing the public hosting at Haunted Antiques. I'm finding that people are coming on, and they might not have necessarily wanted to come. They might have been talked into it, or something like that. And more recently, somebody was just about to bury a family member, and they actually came through, which was really quick, you know,
Yeah,
incredibly quick. But to get that through, and it's wow, isn't it?
yeah,
You know, and you kind of think that, I think some, you know, they booked like ages ago, and then that happened. It's, you know, they couldn't get when they wanted to because it had been booked up for months, you know. And
hmm
it's weird, isn't it, how things happen? And it's just incredible.
I
It
think
really,
everything happens for a reason.
yeah, it's nice to know loved ones are near us. Have you been told that rather than sense them around? Oh, I know my dad's around. He likes cat balls. It's terrible. And yeah, he had to go on. He likes things with flashing lights. I know, because it's his energy what comes through.
Yeah,
It's what it
we
is, you know.
we love the cat balls here too. So
Yeah,
it's
I know.
I know it's another one that the skeptics
Well,
scoff at. But
I don't know how they work. Well, I do. One broke. You know, I saw. You can see how it works, but
yeah,
they don't. Whatever it is doesn't move them. They kind of interact with the middle somehow.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
they do it when you ask. It's not vibration. There's no EMF causing it. There's what is it? What's causing it on
Yeah.
demand? And that's the question, isn't it?
Well, we did a session on Saturday night with the
Yeah.
rods, and we had actually 3 cat balls. But on command, the 2 cat balls on either side would go off.
Yeah.
For some reason, we asked it to put the cat ball off in front. It wouldn't put the cat ball off in front, but the 2 at the side, when we asked, it was putting the cat ball. It was putting the cat ball on. My favourite cat balls was at Inverary Jail. I don't know
Wow.
if you've ever been to Inverary Jail, but
No, it looks awesome.
it's got a courthouse as well. And we were at the end of the night. We actually had BBC Alba, which is the Gaelic BBC channel. They were filming, and they'd already missed out. They caught a growl, but when they went back to check it, it hadn't recorded. The camera had gone faulty.
Oh,
So
handy.
they were a bit gutted about that. But right at the end of the night, everybody's back in the courthouse. I goes, right, this is your last chance. And Lynn from the team, she had put cat balls all around the courthouse, and one was on the dock. And I said, right, this is your last chance. You got anything else you want to say to us? Now's your chance. And as I finished talking, the cat ball on the dock started flashing.
Wow, awesome.
And they caught it on camera, and I thought, right, that's it, job done, time to go home.
Yeah, that's it. It's like,
Yeah.
Stefan hates them. That's fine, you know, and that's it. We've all got
Yeah.
opinions, and there's nothing proven. And, you know,
Yeah.
you're just guessing what the interaction is, or why is it going off, and
Yeah.
like the K2, we don't know this EMF thing, really, do we? You know, and that's it. It's just fascinating, and it's all the questions, and you've got to ask questions.
Yeah, I've got to go through the audio yet, Nicola. So I've got audio from that session.
Oh God, Nicola, an audio.
Well,
Absolutely
she's
awesome.
queen of audio. I
Definitely. I can't hear the words.
I love what Nicola
It's
captures.
fascinating.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it, and you get responses on demand, and it's not once, it's time and time again, isn't it? And I don't know how it works. We don't know any of how this works, really,
yeah.
do
I
we?
mean, we've debunked on certain occasions. We've debunked cat balls. We've
Yeah,
come up with logical reasons why they're triggering. Um, but it comes back to what you were saying earlier. When you're getting that response on demand, that's more difficult to go.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's just random, because
Yeah,
it's only doing it when we're asking, and then it hasn't done it for the last 20 minutes or whatever. So yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah.
it.
That is, that's it in a nutshell. Is it
And
random or is
you've
it
got
genuine?
to do your own reasoning on anything, and you've got to do what suits you and what's right for you,
Yeah,
haven't you?
yeah. I mean, a lot of times I'll put things up, but I will not claim it's paranormal.
I
You know,
never say
I
anything's paranormal.
Yeah,
I
um,
don't. I don't know what it is. I
yeah,
can't say what it is. It's happened, but I can't say it's paranormal.
yeah. But it's and I won't if there's anything that I'm like, no, I'm not 100% sure, I won't put it on at all. So audio, for instance, you often get stuff on audio that you're kind of, is it, isn't it? Could it be
Mm,
one of the team? Yeah, it could be. Right. Okay. In that case, we're not going to publish it.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, camera, of course not.
Yeah. Every time.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I was at the that weird shop in Nottingham, and that's got hell of a history. We didn't know, but we're uncovering more. Been there twice now, and it's just a shop right near a local fruit veg market. From they used to drop the veg off at silly hour, or the fish straight from the coast. And that's it. Everyone went in from the restaurants, and they had boxing down there, and it was a bit seedy as well. And what we're getting in that building is mad. But we were there one night, and it got these like things what kind of activate and make a sound and stuff. Well, it hadn't done it all night. All of a sudden, all of them went off at the same time, and then a couple of cat balls went off as well. It was madness, but incredible. And you can't say because it wasn't going off. They didn't go off. We'd walked by them. We'd made a noise by them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. 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 I mean,
yeah.
it's quite interesting, the distance.
I know Nicola is fantastic. We've got to go anyway. We've kind of overrun. Whoops, Daisy.
Yep.
Sorry about that, everyone. But yeah, thank you so much for all your comments. It's been a great conversation, Liam. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. It's been lovely.
No, it's been awesome, and I really do hope do get to meet you. I'll have to sort some. Hopefully, I can come to Scotland. I think I had my dog had an ulcer in his eye, and he still has, and he had to have an operation, which came to £1,600. And I didn't know if it had worked, and luckily it has, so I might be able to come camping for 2 weeks. But we'll see.
Fingers crossed.
But yeah, they'll take care, everyone. Look after yourself.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. It's been absolutely awesome night. Thank you, then. Goodbye. I've
Bye.
got Mark Dudley on from Blackshook next week, so tune in then. Okay, have a good week. Bye.
Bye.